यशोदानं श्री राधा गोपी जन वल्लभ भगवान की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। गौर भक्त गौर प्रेमानंद। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरू श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरं जयतौ सुरतौ पङ्गोर्मम मन्दामतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्वापदाम्भोजौ राधा मदन मोहनौ दिव्या वृन्दारण्यकल्पाधुमादा श्रीमद्रत्नागर सिंहासनस्थो श्रीमद् राधा शिलगोविन्ददेवौ प्रेष्ठालिभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमन् रासरसारम्भी वंशीवटा ततस्थिता कर्षणवेणो स्वनिर्गोपी गोपीनाथा श्रीष्टुना पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपासरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम् ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 1, verse number 63 to 66. Is it needed? Yes. Yeah, Bishop, the details cannot hear. Oh. अग्निश्वत्ता बर्हिषदः सौम्या पीतर आज्यपः साग्नयो नग्नयस्तेषाम् पत्नी दाक्षायणी स्वधा अग्निश्वाता बहिषदः सौम्या पीतर आज्यता साग्नयो नग्नयस्तेषाम् पत्नी दाक्षायणी स्वधा अग्निश्वाता बहिषदः सौम्या पीतर आज्यपः साग्नयो नग्नयस्तेषाम् पत्नी दाक्षायणी स्वधा One of you would like to recite. Agnishvata Bhishadaha Saumya Pitara Ajapa Sagnayo Magnayastesham पत्नी दाक्षायणी स्वधा अग्निश्वातः द अग्निश्वातस बर्हिषदः बर्हिषदस सौम्यः the Saumyas, Itaraha, the forefathers, Agyapaha, the Agyapas, Sa Agnayaha, those whose means is by fire, Anagnayaha, those whose means is without fire, Tesha, of them, Patani, the wife, Dakshayani, the daughter of Daksha, Swadha, Swadha. So Daksha is Daksha and Dakshayani is daughter of Daksha. Whenever there is I added, becomes the son or daughter. I and E becomes the daughter. Just A becomes the son. Like Vasudeva and Vasudeva. So Vasudeva is son of Krishna. Daksha and Daksha, then Yani. So become daughter of Daksha. The Agnishvatas, the Barhishadas, the Saumyas, and the Ajyapas are the Pitas. They are either Sagnika or Niragnika. The wife of all these Pitas is Swadha, who is the daughter of King Daksha. So Daksha had how many daughters? How many daughters Daksha had? 13. 13? 13. 1 3? Okay. Yeah, some number I am trying to recall. So one of the daughter of Daksha is Swadha. And Swadha got married to Pitas. And you know Pitas? Pitas are the ancestors. You heard of Pitralok? So it is said that when the ancestors die, if they are pure devotees, they go back to God. If they're not pure devotees but very pious or demigod worshippers, the demigods come and take them to heavenly planet. But if they have performed sinful activities, then the Yamdutas will come and they take them to Pitralok. Pitralok is it is connected to Yamlok. And there then the judgment is given those things. So there are many Pitas, and among them the person, and all those Pitas, they got married to Swadha, who was the daughter of Dakshayana. Okay. And who is the leader of all the Pitas? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, among Pitras I am Aryama. Aryama is the leader of all the Pitas. And you know the story where the Yamaraj, he came down as Vidur. And when he came down as Vidur, so when Yamaraj came down as when Yamaraj came down Vidur, then who took over the post of Yamaraj? Aryama. Aryama is Pitas. So all the Pitas, they were under Yamaraj. So all these Pitas, and among them the four are mentioned: Agnishwatas, Barhishadas, Saumyas, and Ajyapas are the Pitas. So they are either based on fire or they are not based on fire. And they all married to Swadha, who is the daughter of King Daksha. तेभ्यो दधार कन्ये द्वे वयुनां धारिणीं स्वधा उभे ते ब्रह्मवादिन्यौ ज्ञान विज्ञान पादके Swadha, who was offered to the Pitas, begot two daughters named Vayuna and Dharini, both of whom were impersonalists and were expert in transcendental and Vedic knowledge. So Swadha got married to Pitas and they got two daughters. One is Vayuna and one is Dharini. And they both were impersonalists, the daughters. And they were expert in Vedic knowledge. So one can be expert in Vedic knowledge and be an impersonalist. And that's why actually most of the shastras promote impersonalism. Most of the Vedas, few places Krishna is mentioned, but he is not clearly mentioned. Or many of them just speaks about like abstract language, and that's why Vyasadeva was not satisfied by writing. So one can be expert in all these different Vedas, but then still not know the purpose behind them. And they knew the Vedic literature, but then still they were impersonalists. भवस्या पत्नी तु सती भवं देवं मनोरथा आत्मना दर्शनं पुत्रं नालेभे गुणशीलता. The 16th daughter. So there are how many daughters of Daksha? 16. The 16th daughter name was Sati, and she was the youngest daughter and the most beautiful daughter also. And she was married to Lord Shiva. She's the like the one of the prime daughters of Daksha. She was married to Lord Shiva. She could not produce a child, although she always faithfully engaged in the service of her husband, and she has no children. Sati. And why she has no children? Why Sati has no children? Why Sati had no children with Lord Shiva? She is already meditating on Krishna. But then he had a son with Parvati, na? Ganesh, Kartikeya. They are not sons. They're not Shiva's sons? They are Shiva's sons, but not Parvati. They are not born from the womb of Parvati. Yeah. So the next verse, the last verse describes, says why she didn't had a child. Says because he committed sati. Pitari apratiroope swe bhavayanagashevusha apraudhaivatmanatmanam ajaharyoga samyuta. The reason is that Sati's father Daksha used to rebuke Lord Shiva in spite of Shiva's faultlessness. Consequently, before attaining the mature age, Sati gave up her body by dint of yogic mystic power. So it says Sati's father was Daksha, and Lord Shiva has no fault, but Daksha would still hate Lord Shiva in spite of Shiva's faultlessness. And this was intolerable to Sati. And then, in front of her father and the whole family, she, by the dint of her yogic mystic power, she consumed her own body in fire. Purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada creature. Lord Shiva, being the head of all mystic yogis, never even constructed a home for his residence. Sati was like, it is like we see in Vedic scriptures that those who have mystic powers, they can do many mystical things. Like one example I remember is of Saubri Muni. And he had mystical powers, but because of his offense to Garuda, he was agitated by 6 devils when he saw the two fish meet. And then he went out and he wanted to marry the daughter of King Mandatta. And Mandatta said, you can ask my daughters, and if they like, then you can marry them. And he took a very beautiful form. And then he married them. And then he constructed 50 huge palaces by his mystic powers. And each of those palaces were way greater than King Mandatta's own palace also. So by mystic powers, one can get anything one wants. There is one mystic personality. His name was Maya Danava. He created the Indraprastha for Arjun and for Pandava. And then there is um, another personality. Um, his name is um, who is the father of sun god? Who did in Dwarka? What's his name? Vishwakarma, father of sun god. So he also has. So they all have mystic powers, but Lord Shiva is the uh, head of all the mystic powers. But he never constructed a home for his residents. Sati was the daughter of the great king Daksha, and because his youngest daughter Sati selected as her husband Lord Shiva, King Daksha was not very much satisfied with her. Therefore, whenever she met her father, he unnecessarily criticized her husband, although Lord Shiva was faultless. Because of this, before attaining the mature age, Sati gave up the body given by her father, Daksha, and therefore she could not produce a child. So, what can we learn from this chapter? We see many times we find fault in somebody, and there is no fault in them. Just, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, we were discussing about this topic of mercy. It is said that Dharma stands on four legs, and one of the leg is austerity. Then the second leg is mercy, and the third leg is cleanliness, and the fourth leg is truthfulness. And austerity is broken by false pride. And then this leg of um, mercy is um, broken by intoxication. And then the leg of cleanliness is broken by illicit sex. And the leg of truthfulness is broken by hypocrisy. And that's why Kali comes in the form of hypocrisy. That's what Kali is the age of call and hypocrisy. So what is the role of Kali? To break truthfulness also. So it is said truthfulness, non-truthfulness does not mean lying, but it means insincerity, hypocrisy, or deceit. These are all how limb of truthfulness is broken. So, but in one of the books, Shiva Maharaj describes mercy as being tolerant, forgiving to those who deserve to be punished, being tolerant and forgiving towards those who may deserve to be punished, not necessarily. Of course, mercy can be applied to everyone, but then being merciful to our, say, family members or children or um, loved ones is not really an act of mercy. But being merciful to those who may deserve to be punished is a real act of mercy, or in a way, that is a real test of mercy. And sometimes the other person does not have any mistake also, um, and the fault may come. And this is what happened. And that's how an offense may be constituted without any offense. And then we may say that mental offense has no reaction in this age of Kali. But then the mental offense is very easily visible either in the eyes or in the bodily action or in the words or in the neglect. In many ways may manifest. So it doesn't really have to be like something gross, but somehow or other it becomes reflected anyhow. And that's how. And we see Daksha. And why Daksha didn't like Lord Shiva? Because Lord Shiva was little. He was not, because Daksha was very proud. Daksha was very proud of his culture. You know, he is well dressed and he would associate with high class people. Um, and Lord Shiva was completely transcendental. He would live in a crematorium, put ashes on his body, not very clean. So, based on external, then Daksha found the fault in Lord Shiva. And to the extent because the fault was there internally, whenever he would see Shiva, he would, for no reason, also physically criticize Lord Shiva. And for a wife, naturally, it was. But Daksha got a reaction. Daksha got a reaction for offending Lord Shiva. The reaction he got was he got a goat head. But it was very humiliating for Daksha to get a goat head. So he committed suicide actually. But by the mercy of Lord Shiva, and this is, you see, Lord Shiva's quality. Although he got a goat head, he took a humble position, Daksha, because the pride is sometimes broken by suffering. We see the case in Chaitanya Charitamrita of Gopal Chapala. He was very proud. He was, but the symptom of his pride, the symptom of his pride was he was thinking that I am such a great devotee. When I am such a great devotee, then why I am not allowed in the assembly of Lord Chaitanya? So that was pride. But actually, he was not a devotee. He was only a Brahmana. But he thought, I am a Brahman. I am a great soul. So why is it somebody not valuing who I really am? So he became very upset. So he thought that he became envious because naturally pride gives rise to envy, became envious. So he acted on envy and he um, mm, devised an act to make everybody feel that Shiva's Thakur is doing heinous activities or doing Kali Puja and all those things and drinking wine and other things. So um, Shiva's Thakur did not justify. Um, Shiva's Thakur was like, if Krishna is putting me in this situation, so be it. I'll accept it. But then Gopal Chapala, he contracted leprosy, and then he was outcasted into the on the bank of the Ganga he would live because it was a contagious disease. And then after many years, then he became very important. And then with tears in his eyes, then he prayed to Lord, please, Mother, I am so fallen. Help me come out. And he said this utter humility. And then Lord Chaitanya told Gopal Chapla that he begged forgiveness from Shiva's Thakur. So it is seen that humility breaks pride, or suffering breaks pride. So many times pride comes in us, right? So when pride comes in us, what comes after pride? Fall. Fall comes after pride. And what does fall brings? Fall brings suffering. And when what the suffering brings, then one bows down to his knees, my Lord, please help me. And when one does that, then what comes? Then comes mercy. And with mercy comes spiritual strength. And then with spiritual strength comes pride. And then with pride comes fall. And then with fall comes suffering. And then with suffering, oh Krishna, please help me. And then comes mercy. And then comes spiritual strength. And then comes pride. So this is our life. This keeps going on. That's why suffering is very good actually. Suffering is the mercy of the because it makes us humble. So we see Daksha when he was like, when he would walk, it is said his effulgence was like thousands of suns. Effulgence of Daksha is thousands of suns. Our effulgence is nothing. But effulgence of Daksha is thousands of suns. So and he was the greatest of all Prajapatis. And it is also said that the position brings pride also. If we think that this is me, if we associate with the position and not as a servant of Krishna, but as a position, then again pride comes. So Daksha was thinking, yes, when he would walk, everybody would uh, get up and Daksha Maharaj ki jai." So Daksha would think, he must be a great personality. But then and out of that pride, then it is said that to criticize, one must become proud. To find fault in somebody, one must become proud. And because Daksha became very proud, then he would find fault in it is a Shiva is faultless, but he found fault in Shiva because he was thinking that I deserve. And then Lord Shiva, when Lord, and actually Lord Shiva, what Lord Shiva's quality, when he was criticizing Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva was sitting and he was remembering the Lord and he was undisturbed. Yesterday we were reading something that where was I reading yesterday? Probably Bhagavatam. There it says that if somebody can become stable amidst all ups and downs, then that's a sign of dhira. Yeah, dhira. Dhira. I remember dhira. Um, where was I discussed? Isha Panishat. Isha Panishat says that in order to realize God, one must hear from dhira. And it is said, who is a dhira? A dhira is one um, who can remain stable despite material ups and downs. He is a dhira. So Lord Shiva was dhira. He was not affected. And Lord Shiva actually did not say anything. But Lord Shiva had an associate, his name was Nandi. And Nandi cursed Daksha because Daksha was offending Lord Shiva. So Nandi said, I curse you to get a goat head. So in order to fulfill Nandi's curse, then Lord Lord Shiva gave him a goat head. That suffering brought lot of humility. Then Daksha realized and Daksha said, no, you are a great personality and the best among all the personalities, and I could not realize this. Please forgive me. And then Lord Shiva is always merciful. So a person who is merciful, it is said that if somebody begs forgiveness and still if we don't give them forgiveness, that's like not good at all. First of all, we should not take offense. But sometimes our ego may get hurt and we may take offense. But if we take offense, then we only get the reaction actually. Like the example I given, you want to hurt somebody with a hot iron rod, and first thing that gets burnt in our own hand. Likewise, when you want to take revenge on somebody, first is our hand got gets burnt, and the mind becomes contaminated. Why did I say this? Think time is also getting up. So basically, Lord Shiva, he did not, whatever he was behaving, Lord Shiva did not take any offense. I was mentioning that, yeah, if we take offense, that is not very good. It is said that for a pure devotee, it is said they forgive even before somebody asks forgiveness. But at least if somebody asks forgiveness, one should be willing to embrace them with love. Otherwise, why are we practicing Vaishnavism? So he begged forgiveness from Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva was like, he didn't take offense, but he blessed Daksha. And that's why next birth of Daksha was very good actually. Okay, so that's all I have. If any questions, discussion, we can take. Yes, sir.
You mentioned about taking offense.
Mhm.
What are the symptoms of taking offense? Like, is it from the mental level, or do we actually, if we take offense, and we take it out
When we take offense, generally we stop being the well-wisher of others, and then their suffering may bring joy in our heart, or we certainly want them to go through a hurt. And that's the sign that we have lost this mercy aspect because we want them to go through a hurt. But a merciful person, he he does not take offense. Or if I mean the thing is we are not pure souls and we have our own false egos, right? So it's easy for us to take offense. But it is said the way we deal with our own situation is by praying to Krishna to help remove the contamination from the mind. So one thing is we are merciful by nature. When the heart becomes pure, we will be merciful by nature. But since our heart is not pure, our mercy will not be default or like spontaneous. But we can still cultivate based on Shastra, based on Dharma mercy, by praying to Krishna to help me so that I can pacify, so that my false ego does not come in between me and my following Dharma. And then when we pray to Krishna, Krishna, please help me to repair or to recover or to remove the contamination from my mind. Then Krishna will make some arrangements that it will go away. But if we are really eager to forgive or to let go, and then we take shelter of Krishna, Krishna will make arrangements so we will let go. But if we want to keep it within us, then Krishna will allow us to keep it within us. But that impacts our own sadhana, and that impacts other people also. Because Krishna says, no, as you approach, I reciprocate. So when you want to hold on, Krishna will allow us to hold on to it. We see many examples of like Drupad and Drona we were discussing. They both didn't like each other, and they held on their that mentality for like decades actually. And they hear each other's name and anger will come. And Duryodhana knew that, so he was very political person. So he said, see how the son of Drupad has arranged this army in such a wonderful way. He did not say, see how Drishtadyumna has arranged. He said, see how son of Drupad. And then Dronacharya went, so they held for like decades. And when we hold on to it, Krishna will allow us to hold on to it, but it will have a negative impact on our consciousness. But when we want to let go of it, and when you pray to Krishna to give me the means so I can let go of it, then we are showing to Krishna, Krishna, I am sincere. We show to Krishna by our action. And Krishna is, all these are basically tests. Krishna puts us in all these various tests to see, so that we can see ourselves how nicely I am progressing. Prabhupada says how advanced one is in Krishna consciousness can be seen by to what extent one is cultivating these qualities. And all these qualities are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. To what extent? Krishna consciousness is all a matter of the heart. Krishna is only looking at how much is the real growth. Real growth is an internal. Okay. One question?
Is there any situation where one takes an offense and then that leads to mercy, or that is not called as a taking offense? That means in the case of Guru, when they chastise or something. So do they actually, in one sense, they think the disciple is doing something wrong, and then they
Chastise.
and then or it's something like taking offense and then they're being mercy.
It's not an offense. The act of mercy does not necessarily mean that um, one does not become angry. We were discussing like when Krishna killed the demons. It is an act of mercy because Krishna is still their well-wisher and they go back to God or they are liberated. So the act of anger is also Krishna's mercy. And same way we see for pure devotees, their anger or their love is both an act of mercy. Because like we were discussing, when a mother chastises the child, if the child does something wrong, then it's not that she is not merciful, but her mercy is to correct the child for the child's benefit. It's not out of envy. It's like a spiritual master. He wants to train the disciples. Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness is all about training. We are training ourselves. So when some senior devotees and the chastise become angry at us, then we should not see from material anger, from a material point of view. And naturally the false ego is there to tell that, point out fingers to everyone, even if they are doing something by an act of mercy. So their thunder or their rose. Sometimes they will give you a rose, sometimes they'll give you a thunderbolt. Both is an act of mercy because ultimately they are your well-wisher. Their consciousness is your well-wishing. Does it answer? More question? Sure. Any other question?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I actually have a question.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So you mentioned that Mata Sati, she gave up her body because of so reason Lord Shiva was disrespected and all. But how does that make it different than committing suicide?
I mean, she did, I mean, instead of suicide, we call it sati. She took sati. I mean, her name was Sati and she took sati. Sati Sahagama. Sati.
Why? Because we have fired out and not suicide. It's
I did probably.
so
Sati Sahagama.
it's not Sagam. That ritual is not Sati. It is Sagam. Sati Sagam. When the husband dies,
He
she go on.
enters into the fire.
So basically, why Sati gave up her body is when you hear the blasphemy of a Vaishnava, you should do two things. Either kill the person who blasphemed, or if you can't kill, you kill yourself.
Mm.
So she can't kill his father, her father. So she gave up her life.
Mhm. So our glorious, most glorious Bhagavad Gita Prabhu says that if somebody offend, two things can be done. Either you, one of the things you can do is you give up your body if you hear of some other Vaishnava. We don't recommend that. That we should do it.
But nowadays, what they traditionally, as soon as you hear a blasphemy, immediately give them.
Yeah, so now the recommendation is as soon as you hear blasphemy of a devotee, you should go away. Or it is also said you can defend the other person, like how they are actually and rectify their consciousness. That's one thing you can do. If you cannot rectify their consciousness, then you leave the place. And if you cannot leave the place and can you rectify their consciousness, then third option is not recommended. So do for not the first two options. But third option is commit, give up your body. Actually, it's mentioned there.
For no reason or accuracy, Sati knows from the beginning, Lord Shiva is forgiving this Prajapati only because of him and the connection between the Daksha and the Lord Shiva, and because of me only, he is able to do it. So that's why she acted in a so adamant way to go to Nakshatra to the beach to stop it.
Because she knows that
She knows he already committed offense lecture blasphemy to Shiva, and he needs to punish or correct it. And because as long as she is there as a connection between Daksha and that time she also Daksha in because she has got of Daksha, and she is the wife of Lord Shiva. And Daksha Prajapati was really thinking that I have the authority of Lord Shiva because he is my son-in-law. And because of me, that connection is there. If I'm not there, then he will be like a ordinary Jiva. That's why she left.
so Baba Prabhu is mentioning that Daksha was thinking that Shiva is her son-in-law, or usually son-in-law is inferior to position than father-in-law. Usually we think that mera damad hai. Daksha was thinking like that. So Sati was thinking that he's thinking him to be in an inferior position because of me. So she gave up her body so Daksha can give up his mentality of thinking him to be like inferior to him also. So that is offense may go for Daksha. Also, physically also Bhagavatam says Sati was thinking, Sati was so disgusted with Daksha. She said that I have no connection with you for your behavior. So the only thing that makes me have connection with you is this body, because this body comes to you. So anything that comes has nothing to do with it. So she gave up her body. I have nothing to do with you because of who you are, Daksha. All right, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. One question here, Prabhu. Uh,
Then I take care. Yes, take a deep breath.
Thank you for wonderful insights there, Prabhu, with this pastime. This is sorry, towards the beginning, you mentioned that when Vidura actually came here, and somebody else took the position of Yamraj. Remind me again, Yamraj is one of the 12 Mahajans.
Yes.
And Yamraj is a position or Yamraj is a person?
Person. No, sorry, position.
Interesting. So out of 12 Mahajans, this is the only Mahajan which is based on position, which means whoever is taking up a role becomes a Mahajan.
No, no, no. Like Brahma is also Mahajan, Prabhuji.
Sorry, Prabhu, I couldn't hear. Sorry.
I'm saying Brahma is also Mahajan, but it refers to our Brahma. Likewise, Yamraj is Mahajan, not like anybody who takes the position of Yamraj will be a pure devotee, not necessarily. But our
Ah.
Yamraj is a pure devotee.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. Same way, Brahma is also a position. Brahma is also a position. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Huh? Our Brahma is pure devotee. Mahajan. Yes.
But like just following up my question on taking is ignoring or not taking care of someone also considered as taking offense? Like,
Subtle form, yes. Is ignoring somebody or not taking care of somebody is also, I mean, why we are ignoring? Maybe because something we don't like in them. So there is, and when we are ignoring, we are subtly conveying that we are not evaluation, at least for the time being. Till sometime in the future. Right? But when we actually care, then we'll think like, what can I do for it? And it is said mercy means you don't want to put anybody in anxiety or in pain or in suffering. And when we ignore somebody, we know it's not good for them also. Because the reason we are ignoring, because we know the repercussion of that and we want them to go through it subtly. So it's also it's an action. Like Krishna says, we cannot do inaction any part. Or not, I mean, inaction has a different meaning of bhakti, but we cannot not act. And being ignoring is also a purposeful action. And that will also have a reaction.
then how do we attain sthita prajna?
Wow, Prabhu, sounds good. This you should ask the person sitting behind you. And there behind, there also there's walking person. There are lot of. I can definitely tell you how not to do. So why is this question? Is it connected to not ignoring?
Yeah, we should be, we should not either go like to either side. We should be equanimous.
Depends on situation, Prabhu. For example, one thing is I'm ignoring because I'm not their relation, or I want them to not be cared for, or my role is to take care of them, but then I'm ignoring them purposefully and with the intention that they'll go through some hard time, and that's what I want. So there, it's also a reaction. There is also an action. But ignoring, like another way of ignoring is like if somebody says some bad words to you and they're not under your care, but you don't feel anything about it, and you just say, my karma come back to me. I deserved it, or they are right, or in whichever way, and you're not disturbed. Then instead of okay. Ultimately, Krishna sees the bhav. What is the mode? What is the consciousness? And if that is bhakti positively directed towards pleasing Krishna. Great. It's not the action. It's basically the bhav. Pleasing to Krishna. Congratulations. Alright. Okay, so Baba Jai Babu is telling, stop it right here. And a joke. And a joke. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll end here. If I spoke anything wrong, please forgive me as a humble servant. Vanchakal patavadesha, vipasam kudai vacham. Patitanam pavana, Vaishnavi, Namo, 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 Namo,